Imagine waking up one morning to find that your life, your hard work, your memories, your very name belongs to someone else. And the worst part? The person wearing your face, spending your money, and living your dreams isn't a stranger hacking from a basement halfway across the world. It's the person who sat next to you at every Thanksgiving dinner. It's the person you shared your deepest secrets with. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of how my own cousin stole my identity, nearly destroyed my future, and how I had to fight a war I never saw coming just to reclaim who I was. If you think you know the people around you, think again. This isn't just a story about fraud, it's a story about the heartbreak of blood betrayal. The notification on my phone was small, a simple ping that usually signaled a like on a photo or a spam email. I was sitting in my cramped studio apartment, the glow of my monitor the only light in the room. I was a freelance graphic designer, scraping by, building a portfolio piece by piece, dreaming of the day I'd land a contract with a major agency. My cousin Layla was the opposite. She was the golden child of our family, charismatic, beautiful, and effortlessly successful. Or so it seemed. We grew up like sisters, two vines twisted around the same trellis. I was the quiet creative. She was the loud, shining star. I loved her. I trusted her with my passwords, my spare key, and my insecurities. That ping was an email from a bank I didn't bank with. "Congratulations on your new platinum credit line," it read. I frowned, assuming it was a phishing scam, and moved to delete it. But something made me pause. The name on the account wasn't just mine. It used my middle name, a name I only used for official documents. A cold prickle of unease danced down my spine. I logged into a credit monitoring site, my fingers trembling slightly. The screen loaded and my breath hitched. There were 3 credit cards, a car loan for a luxury sedan, and an apartment lease in a city 3 hours away, all opened in the last 6 months. My credit score, which I had meticulously built, was in free fall. Panic as a cold bucket of water. I called my mom, hyperventilating. "Mom, someone stole my identity. I'm ruined." She tried to calm me down, telling me it was probably a mistake. But as I dug deeper over the next few days, the digital trail didn't lead to a stranger. The recovery email for one of the fraudulent accounts was layla.dashbul, official@gmail.com. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. It didn't make sense. Layla? The cousin who bought me ice cream when I got dumped? The cousin who held my hand at my father's funeral? I drove to her parents' house, my aunt and uncle's place, where she was staying between high-profile jobs. When I confronted her, I expected denial, shock, maybe even help finding the real hacker. Instead, I found Lila sitting on the porch, wearing a designer jacket I knew she couldn't afford. When I showed her the proof, the email address, the transaction logs, her face didn't crumble in shame. It hardened. "You weren't using the credit, Sarah," she said, her voice terrifyingly calm. "You're too scared to take risks. I needed the capital to launch my brand. I was going to pay it back before you even noticed." The betrayal wasn't just about the money. It was the entitlement. She looked at my life, my clean record, my good name, and decided it was a resource she could harvest. She stripped me of my financial safety net because she felt she deserved a shortcut. I walked away from that porch feeling like a ghost in my own life. The person I loved was gone, replaced by a stranger wearing her skin. The months that followed were a suffocating gray fog of bureaucracy and isolation. I had to file police reports against my own family. My aunt called me, screaming that I was ruining Layla's future, that I was selfish for not letting them handle it internally. The family fractured down the middle. Half of them blocked me on social media, accusing me of airing dirty laundry. I was the victim, yet I was the one being ostracized. But the emotional toll was heavier than the legal one. I couldn't sleep. Every time I looked at a photo of us from childhood, I felt a physical pain in my chest. I remembered the time we built a fort in the living room, promising to be best friends forever. Was she planning this then? Or did the envy grow slowly, like mold in the walls, until it consumed her? I had to become a detective in my own life. I spent nights scouring her social media. She was living the life she bought with my name. There were photos of her in the car she bought with my credit, tagged self-made. Influencer posts from the apartment leased under my social security number. The likes and comments poured in, praising her success. It was a hall of mirrors. She had stolen my identity to build a fake one for herself online. One night, I hit rock bottom. I was sitting on my floor, surrounded by piles of affidavits and fraud reports. I had $12 in my checking account because the bank had frozen my assets during the investigation. I felt small. I felt stupid for trusting her. I wanted to give up, to just declare bankruptcy and disappear. But then, I found a folder on my old laptop. It was a project Layla and I had started years ago, a digital scrapbook. I clicked through the photos, and I saw the subtle signs I had missed. The way she always positioned herself in front of me in pictures. The way she'd make backhanded compliments about my simple life. The theft hadn't started with the credit cards. She had been competing with me for a lifetime. I realized then that reclaiming my identity wasn't just about fixing a credit score. It was about reclaiming my self-worth. She stole my data, but she couldn't steal my resilience. I wiped my tears, brewed a pot of coffee, and prepared for war. The resolution didn't happen in a courtroom with a dramatic gavel bang. It happened in slow, agonizing increments. The police report forced the creditors to chase her, not me. Lila was eventually charged with fraud. She didn't go to prison, but she received probation and a massive restitution bill. The brand she built crumbled the moment the truth came out. Her followers turned on her, the apartment was repossessed, and the luxury car was towed. I remember seeing her one last time at a family mediation. She looked smaller, stripped of the designer clothes and the arrogance. She tried to hug me, crying, saying she just wanted to be someone. "You were someone," I told her, my voice steady for the first time in a year. "You were my cousin." And that should have been enough. I didn't hug her back. I walked out of that room and never looked back. The recovery took 2 years. I rebuilt my credit score point by painful point. I worked double shifts, took on extra design gigs, and slowly the numbers on the screen turned from red to green. But the real victory was internal. I started a YouTube channel sharing my story, helping other victims of familial identity theft. I turned my trauma into a toolkit for others. I learned that blood doesn't grant immunity from toxicity. Setting boundaries isn't an act of hate, it's an act of self-preservation. I lost a cousin, yes. I lost the illusion of a perfect family, but I found a version of myself that was stronger, sharper, and unbreakable. Layla stole my name for a while, but she never understood what it meant to actually be me. To earn your life, day by day, that is something that can never be stolen. If you are going through a betrayal right now, know this. Your identity is more than a credit score or a reputation. It is your spirit, your fight, and your ability to rise from the ashes. Don't let anyone, family or not, make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. You are the author of your story, and no one else gets to hold the pen.